What is up, all of my horror fanatics out there? Welcome back to Late Night Frights. I'm the Late Night Frights horror leader, the Jay Sloan or Jordan, back here to do another video for you. And as always, guys, I want to thank everyone for tuning in this evening. Last week we did a theme, and it was actually our werewolf theme. And if you haven't seen that yet, please go check it out. Very solid week overall. So yeah, last week we did a theme, so obviously this week we're doing horror battles, and the two films I chose to battle are very similar in some ways, but very different in others, and they are Deranged versus The Town That Dreaded Sundown. Okay, so before I battle these two films to the death, you guys already know I'll be reviewing both of these very briefly, and I'm going to be starting with Deranged. Okay, so Deranged was made in 1974, which ironically is the same year that the Texas Chainsaw Massacre was made. Both films are loose adaptations of the real-life serial killer Ed Gein. Deranged following it a bit more than the Texas Chainsaw Massacre did. And basically this film stars Roberts Blossom, and he plays a guy named Ezra Cobb. And Ezra Cobb, since he was little, has been sheltered by his mother. She got very sick, and he's had to take care of her for many, many years. And when she dies, Ezra really snaps. It's this dark psychosis that has been building up since he was a kid, and being sheltered from her and everything that she's taught him and told him over the years. And when she dies, of course, he wants to preserve her. After a year after she's been buried, he wants to preserve her, so he basically robs the grave, goes and gets his mother, brings her back home, and then tries to preserve her, and that leads to killings and some very brutal things and weird things in this movie, Deranged. It's a good film, good horror film. I think that it's overlooked and underrated. Roberts Blossom did an amazing job playing Ezra Cobb. You could really tell his craziness. You could really see it, and it felt real. There's a scene in the film, I won't spoil too much, but there is a scene in the film kind of like Psycho. Psycho's another film that took a lot from the Ed Gein story, where he's actually talking back and forth to his mother, and the camera doesn't go away. It actually shows him talking to himself and then changing his voice to his mother, and just a creepy look that he has. And it's a great film. I really do enjoy Deranged. The special effects, the makeup was done by Tom Savini. One of, if not the best. Tom Savini does amazing work. And everything looks so realistic. The bones, the flesh, the blood, right down to everything looked realistic in this film. You could tell it wasn't high budget, and I'm not quite sure why it gets overlooked, because I don't hear a lot of people talking about it, but this is just a classic film. Like I said, out of Psycho, TCM, and Deranged really follows more closely to the Ed Gein story. Like a lot of the things in the Ed Gein documentary that actually happened are in this film, just reenacted, and of course all the names are changed. But here's Deranged. This is actually the Arrow Video release, which I would highly recommend if you have a region-free Blu-ray player, because it's just an awesome edition. I mean, Arrow Video does amazing releases. Scream Factory does too. Sadly, they haven't announced or they haven't released Deranged, but Arrow Video did, and it's just a badass edition and a badass horror flick. So I would definitely recommend checking out Deranged. Okay, so now I'm going to review The Town That Dreaded Sundown. So The Town That Dreaded Sundown was made in 1977, and in the beginning of this one we see that it's set in 1946, which right off the bat is just a really weird era to set a slasher film in, but I really did enjoy that. It wasn't an 80s slasher, and it wasn't, for then, it wasn't in current time. It was set back in the 40s, which was really awesome to see and really different. So, set in 1946, we see these two teenagers in the beginning going off to Lover's Lane, basically going off to park, and you know what they're going to do. And while they're there, they actually see a man just come out of nowhere with a potato sack on his head, and they almost get beat to death by this man. And not long after that, maybe a week after that, two more kids end up murdered, and it's clear to the deputy and the sheriff and all the policemen on the force in this movie that there is a serial killer on the loose in Texarkana. So the basic plot of this film is really this serial killer called the Phantom going around killing teens, and changing things up. And it's a cat and mouse game between the Phantom and the police force trying to find him. And that's basically all I can say about this film without spoiling anything else. I don't want to spoil, anything in the film. So I just wanted to give you the basic plot over it. I really enjoyed it. I went into it, not with high expectations, but with medium expectations. I'd never seen it before, and going into it, I'd heard it's a classic. I heard it's very underrated, and indeed it was, because I really, really enjoyed it. The film style, in a lot of ways, it kind of felt like a Western. I don't know why I got that vibe from it, but I really did. The film style of it, the actors did a really good job. It had a great direction. And there was some pretty crazy kills in this one. There was one with an instrument, which I don't want to say anything about because that was just out of nowhere. Like, that just came out of nowhere, the one kill that I'm talking about. But yeah, it's just a basic cat and mouse game between the Phantom and the cops, and trying to stop him before he kills another person. And there's the Phantom on the cover there, as you can see. The potato sack look, much like Friday the 13th Part 2. Which is actually where I think they got, in Friday the 13th Part 2, I think they got it from The Town That Dreaded Sundown, which is actually pretty cool to think of. And, yeah, it's a good slasher. I really enjoyed it. So that is my review over The Town That Dreaded Sundown. Now that I've reviewed both films, it is time for me to battle them to the death. Round 1, kills. Which film do I think have better kills and an overall a higher body count? I'm going to have to say The Town That Dreaded Sundown had better kills than Deranged. There were some very creative ones in there, like I said before, with the instrument kills, and a lot of just different mixed kills. It wasn't one particular tool, it went around from weapon to weapon. So that's what I really liked about The Town That Dreaded Sundown. So round 1 goes to The Town That Dreaded Sundown. Round 2, story and originality. Which film do I think had a better story and was overall more original? Now, it's difficult, because The Town That Dreaded Sundown, was made in 1977, and for its time, it was very original. Deranged was made in 1974, but it was loosely based on Ed Gein. I'm going to have to go with Deranged. I think the story was more interesting and more intriguing, following Ezra Cobb and just his dive into madness ever since his mother passed away. And I really enjoyed Deranged storyline just a little bit more than The Town That Dreaded Sundown. So Deranged has took round 2. Round 3, blood, guts, and gore. Now, without a doubt, to me, which film had better makeup effects, which film had better blood, guts, and gore, it would have to go to Deranged. I just think, Tom Savini did an amazing job. Everything in this film looked so realistic and crazy. There's one scene specifically involving a skull that I won't talk about, but it was just crazy to see that, and really awesome. Everything looked so real, and obviously that has to be, that is from Tom Savini, so it's going to look really good either way. Tom Savini is an amazing makeup artist, and he just does an amazing work on anything he does. And when I knew that his hands was all over this, I knew it would be great. So Deranged takes round 3. Round 4, personal enjoyment and replayability. Now, once again, guys, the one that I personally enjoy more, the one that I would pop in right now and watch, is without a doubt Deranged. So there's no need for a round 5, guys. As you can see, Deranged has won this horror battle. I think it is overall a better horror film, to me at least. This is just my opinion. I thought the acting was great, the overall direction, the feeling of the film is very gritty. Roberts Blossom did an amazing job as Ezra Cobb, and the effects were awesome. Everything about this film I really enjoyed, and I think it's overall a great horror film that is highly underrated and overlooked. The same thing goes for The Town That Dreaded Sundown. I really enjoyed this film. I went into it with not very high expectations, and I came out a happy horror fan. I really loved the feeling to it, the Western feeling that I got mixed in with it. The killings were awesome, the acting was good, and the overall direction of the film. But, just to me, I didn't like it as much as I liked Deranged. So Deranged has defeated The Town That Dreaded Sundown. It is the winner of this battle, and it is victorious. So I want to thank everyone once again for tuning in. That was my battle over Deranged and The Town That Dreaded Sundown. Deranged has won this battle, but please comment down below and tell me which film you like better. I'm really curious to hear everyone's thoughts and opinions on both of these films. Stay tuned. Tomorrow, Chris Brock will be battling 2 films of his choice, and that will continue throughout the week with all the members. I'm the Jay Sloan. You just watched Late Night Frights. Comment and subscribe, and as always, guys, keep it horror. Peace.